checked out what this guy's doing. He's eating nothing but meat, and he's a doctor, and he's super healthy.
Well, that's Joe Rogan from the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the most widely listened to podcasts in the world. He has on Dr. Baker. And Dr. Baker, Dr. Shawn Baker, is going to talk about the carnivore diet. Now, why would he have him on to talk about a diet?
Bring you back to the beginning. So you're a physician, right? So you understand a lot about the human body.
So doctors understand a lot about the human body. Well, what doctors understand is physiology. Now, understanding physiology, as I've told you many times before, is not understanding health. It's understanding physiology. I mean, I've studied physiology. I love physiology. I find it really fascinating. I don't really think it's made me understand health any better. It just made me understand the human body and how it works. Why have a medical doctor on there? Why not just get anybody? Why not just get somebody off of the street? Or why not just get Jordan Peterson?
Your diet. You're on this carnivore diet now.
Okay, so I want to preface that with something. I am not a dietary expert, so I'm now speaking as an uninformed citizen.
Yes.
Right?
Well, this is anecdotal evidence from a human being that has dealt with autoimmune issues their whole life.
Yes.
Now, why is Jordan Peterson on this podcast talking about his diet? Because he's famous. That's all. He lost some weight. He was on a diet. It was somewhat successful for him. He's on a 100% meat diet. It's just insane. At least he's got he comes out in the beginning and says, look, I don't know anything about diet. I'm just telling you what I did. At least he says this. Do you think a doctor would say that? No. Doctors are experts in health. They're experts in diet. As soon as they graduate from medical school, they come out and they know everything about diet and health. So when they say, I'm going to go on a carnivore diet, then it's safe for you to go on a carnivore diet too, because doctors, medical doctors, know everything about health, and they've studied physiology, and they know the human body really well. So if they say carnivore diet, okay, carnivore diet, okay.
Were you worried when you decided to go on this carnivore-only diet? Were you worried that you were going to be deficient in some sort of nutrients and vitamins and fiber and all these different things? And were you cautious?
Yeah, I mean, I was very, I'm still skeptical. I mean, that's just the way you should be. But I mean, I was aware of what's not in meat. If you look at the RDA, if you look at the RDA and it says meat is low in vitamin C, it's low in manganese, it's low in, potassium, it's low in, vitamin A, vitamin E. There's a whole bunch of things that's low in.
Now, did Dr. Baker go through, a lot of studies and look at patients, and did he go through thousands of people on the carnivore diet? No, he'll tell you what he did. He jumped on Facebook and looked at some groups.
I studied these large Facebook groups like an anthropologist. Like they used to study these people, 100 years ago. They go out, Weston Price would go out and see all these people and study their teeth and stuff. The problem with that is, you don't speak their language. It's pretty remote. You got to translate. And so some of those observations, while they're valid, they're hard to do now. But so when you go in these groups and you do.
If I were to just start talking about health and through Facebook groups, stop listening to me. Like if I said, hey, I saw this Facebook group and they really did well on this particular nutrient, and that's why you should get on it too. Stop listening to me. Stop listening to anybody who uses Facebook groups as the guidelines of whether something's healthy or whether something isn't healthy.
Now, do you do blood work on yourself?
I haven't yet. I'm going to probably do it once I get, I'm a year at this.
You haven't done any?
No, I don't. Here's the deal, Joe. I mean, I've got a lot of people who do it all the time. I'm not that interested in it because I just don't. I don't think it makes that big of a difference for me. I'll do it just out of just to satisfy other people's curiosity.
Well, that's about one of the strangest things I've ever heard any doctor, any medical doctor ever say. The blood work just doesn't matter to me. It's not important. Everything's in the blood. Everything is found in the blood. It's why they're constantly doing blood work. I'm going to go ahead and say this is a red flag. There's something really wrong here. You're on this thing for over a year and you don't run your blood work. I mean, even Joe Rogan's kind of like, what's going on here? You don't run your blood work? Well, I'm going to show you my blood work.
I don't really have that much curiosity personally.
About your blood work?
No, not really.
A radical change in your diet where you're just consuming only meat. I would want to see what kind of results I'm getting.
Well, it depends. If you can tell me what blood test tells me I'm healthy, and I don't think you can.
If anybody's a patient of Dr. Shawn Baker, I would really seriously think about whether you want to go back to this guy ever again. Blood work is not important, really. I mean, blood work is everything. I used to do live blood analysis, and I made a video a while ago telling you why I don't really do live blood analysis anymore. But you can see everything that in the blood. Everything's in the blood. This is why the medical industry, the medical establishment is constantly looking at your blood work. And they should. It tells you everything. But he says there's no test to see if you're healthy from your blood. Well, yeah, there are. Look at all these tests. Here's my latest blood work, February 2019. All right, here's my vitamin D, comes back, of course it's perfect. Here's CBD with differential, it's all perfect. Comprehensive metabolic panel is fine. This is my kidneys, come back perfect. This is hepatitis C, no indication whatsoever. Iron is fine, it's in the range. Lipid panel, my cholesterol is fine. PSA, that's your prostate, no problem whatsoever. My thyroid came back perfect. My folate, which is B vitamin 9, that came back perfect. B6 is off the charts, and B12 is very high, almost out of the range. There's my comprehensive blood work for 2019. I go through this every year, and it just comes back perfect. And I'm on a raw food diet. You know, one of the things that they mentioned in this video is, you know, where are you going to get your vitamins if you eat meat or something? I mean, there's so many things missing from meat. There's no fiber. There's no vitamin A. There's no vitamin E. There's no vitamin D. I mean, you could go on and on. This is not a comprehensive food. And just for the record here, spirulina and chlorella, which are much higher forms of protein, much higher percentages, they're 60% protein compared to meat, which is around 15%. They have everything. They're the only two foods you could live on exclusively and be incredibly healthy. But honestly, if you're ever going to go on a 100% diet of something like just one thing and want to be incredibly healthy doing it and get the kind of results that Dr. Baker's doing and all this, you'd want to do that with algae, spirulina and chlorella. I mean, people would rather have meat. They want to eat a steak. They want to have certain different types of meat or whatever. You watch this whole thing. They talk a lot about the meat and the taste of the meat, and the chicken doesn't do enough for them or whatever it is. Who cares? Here's Jordan Peterson. I mean, he'll eat 30-ounce steak. This guy here, Dr. Baker, I mean, he'll eat 3 pounds a day. Well, you have 3 pounds of meat a day. He talks about losing all this weight and feeling good and having all this energy. This is not health. Okay, this is not health. And just feeling good is not always healthy. I mean, I literally knew a guy, he felt great all the time, and he had a heart attack one day. He felt great, but he just went through one day, boom, it just hit him.
I don't really have that much curiosity personally.
About your blood work?
Not
I
really,
would think
not really.
a radical change in your diet where you're just consuming only meat, I would want to see what kind of results I'm getting.
Well, it depends. You know, if you can tell me what blood test tells me I'm healthy, and I don't think you can.
So just because you feel good doesn't mean you're healthy. You got to go back to the blood work. And here's a doctor who doesn't believe in blood work. And that's very, very odd to me. That's a red flag plus. Now, the rest of this video, I just wanted to play this because then they go on to say some very interesting things about doctors and the medical industry that I completely agree with.
Right. I mean, here's a problem with Western medicine. You know, we are facing this. I mean, it's like a war against chronic disease. It's like we're being invaded by, remember Independence Day with that?
Yes.
And doctors, we got BB guns. I mean, the stuff we are shooting at them doesn't work for chronic disease. Now, acute stuff is different. There's some stuff that we have this wonderful technology, but
I think what he's trying to get at there is that the medical industry is completely worthless when it comes to chronic disease. My point exactly.
The run-of-the-mill diabetes and obesity.
Doctors are great for fixing broken joints,
yeah,
broken bones.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Absolutely, Joe. They are good in medical emergencies. They're good for broken bones. They're good for physical therapy. They're good for when you get into trouble, like when you get in an accident. That's what the medical industry is there for. And I'm always in great awe of what they can do. The medical technology these days is astounding. But when it comes to chronic disease, they're just worthless. And infectious disease, they're not any better.
Not that, but even like arthritis that I saw every day. If we were trained properly in nutrition and exercise, that's what I've done my whole life. I know what I'm doing exercise-wise. But, if we were allowed to do that, and instead of training all these, radiology technicians and blood draw technicians and nursing assistants, if you had an army of preventive people, preventive medicine people, and we train all these people to go into people's homes, I think Chris was talking about that, and just get the crap out of their diet and show them how to be healthier.
Well, that's what I do. This is what I do for a living. This is what I'm doing right here now. I'm telling you what is healthy. And here he's telling you the same thing. He's telling you, if we could just train the medical doctors, or we don't need all these people doing these technicians and these techs doing this and this and this. If we could just train people in diet and nutrition and exercise and go into people's homes and talk to them about diet and exercise, that would be far more helpful. You think? We're in agreement here. 100% agreement.
He felt like he was at the bottom of a building and somebody's throwing eggs off, and his job is to catch the eggs.
Oh, God.
Right? And he's like, well, why don't we just have a guy stop fucking throwing down eggs? But that's what medicine is. You're just catching the eggs. And so instead of that, we should be investing. You know, we talk about prevention, but it's bullshit. We don't do anything for prevention. It's so little. And then the problem is a lot of it is it doesn't work the way we've designed it, you know.
We don't know what we're doing. We don't know. We don't ever talk about prevention, and a lot of the things that we do don't work out in the way they're supposed to happen, like Stanton drugs, you know, or like Vioxx. It was supposed to cure all these diseases, and it doesn't. It makes things a lot worse. And then there's all these lawsuits, and then people get sick and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, 100%. Can you imagine? You know what? I think he might want to become a naturopath. Because we're the ones that know something about, diet and nutrition and exercise. These guys, he's admitting, they have no training in it whatsoever. None. But there he is, a medical doctor, or we can get the psychologist on here. May as well get him in there to talk about diet.
I am not a dietary expert, so I'm now speaking as an uninformed citizen.
Yes.
Right.
And his daughter, get her on there about diet.
To give us the Cliff Notes, you're allergic to everything.
Yeah.
She's on a meat diet, and he's on a meat diet, and they're all on a meat diet. So let's have them talk about diet and nutrition. Once you've said, I was on a meat diet, and some of my problems went away, what more is there to talk about? I mean, this guy's on here for an hour and a half or something on this show. What is there to really say? He's a medical doctor. They're just again, kind of eating around the edges and never getting at what's healthy and what isn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in fixing you. And there's not a whole lot of money in telling you to eat well.
Well, that's a quote if I ever heard one. There's not a lot of money in fixing it. That's what I do. There's not a lot of money in this. You better believe it. There's a lot of money in doing what these guys are trying to cure cancer, and they're trying to cure this disease, and they've got these big hospitals, and then when you go in there, you say, hey, I have my high blood pressure, my blood pressure is a little bit high, they give you this medication. That's where the money is. The money's not in what I'm doing. And yet I hear all the time, well, you're just sitting there getting rich. Well, I wish I was getting rich. Let me tell you something. When you do something like this, when you have a business the way I have it, and when you really get out there and you tell people how to be healthy the way I tell them to be healthy, there's not a lot of money in it. But it's the truth. Dr. Bob, stay away from the carnivore diet, and I'll see you next time. Check out my new book, God's Path to Disease-Free Living, What the Scriptures Tell Us About Health. Remember that your body is your temple, and honoring it will give you greater health than you ever imagined.
The run-of-the-mill diabetes and obesity.
Doctors are great for fixing broken joints,
Yeah,
broken
that's fine.
bones.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in fixing you, and there's not a whole lot of money in telling you to eat well.